Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It sounds like she's also asking the work session to be scheduled.
Hi. Sorry about all my confusion.
Sure. I know. That's fine. So we're going to go over the audit tonight.
So where's Commissioner Sullivan? Commissioner Sullivan? Is this on? Commissioner Sullivan?
I don't think you're on. There'll be two motions. One is to table, and then the other is to schedule a work session. Oh, okay. Okay. Just to be technically correct. Okay.
Want to go up?
Okay. Some people want to table it forever and not have a work session, I guess, arguably. Could argue that. Sure.
Yeah.
That's fine.
You want to go back a little farther and then walk up?
Okay. Yeah.
That's a little,
This is high
little
level
tricky.
stuff, you know?
The Board of Commissioners, as the governing body of Clatsop County, all county service districts for which this body so acts, and as the Clatsop County Local Contract Review Board is now meeting in regular session. Please stand for the flag salute.
Liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Present. Present.
Present?
Here.
Here.
We have an amended agenda. So, let's see. We need approval for the amended agenda, and there is one other item that's going to move.
Should we,
Commissioner Webb has, please help.
so I
motion.
think Pam, you would move to whatever you wanted to move on.
But first, the amended agenda,
Approval of the amended.
the approval of the amended agenda is,
Madam Chair, I move to accept the amended agenda.
Second.
those in favor?
Aye.
Then we have a motion.
Yes. I would like to move to postpone consideration of item 7C on the business agenda and to schedule a board work session. Oh, that's one motion, excuse me.
7B or 7C?
7C.
So what we received in writing,
Agendas on me, and so it's really, no, it's 7C
Wait,
on the new agenda.
So you want to, the Board of Commissioners Committee and Liaison Appointments?
No, no, 7C in my amended agenda.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
or no?
I'm sorry. That's my, I'm sorry.
Okay, so that's my motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it for purposes of discussion. And I don't know if we want to discuss it now or as we go through the agenda, whatever is the chair's pleasure.
Is there a reason for discussion? She just wants to move it to a work session? Is there a discussion?
So I'm interested in hearing Commissioner Webb's rationale.
I think there, in the report that was given to me, there were several technical errors in the report. And I think that this is something with which I'm quite familiar, being an old economic development person. And I find this revolving fund very inconsistent with other industrial park requirements that I have seen in the past. And as I say, there were several typos as well in it. And it just seems to me that this is something that demands a great deal more consideration on the part of the commission. This is a revolving fund that if we put it in place, we hope it will last us for many years through many successful developments in this park. And so I think we have to be really, really careful about this revolving loan fund and make sure that it is just as we want it. Because the descriptions in here are extremely broad for the kinds of things that could be supported with one of these grants.
Madam Chair, may I ask a question of staff?
Yes.
Is there any urgency on the part of the proposed developer who is asking for this?
There is, he has contacted and he has expressed urgency. The developer still has not purchased the property. And it is my understanding that he is wanting to use some of these funds to be able to do the due diligence process to purchase the property.
Which would be, in my judgment, a very bad precedent to set. We certainly don't want to pay developers to do their due diligence. That's their own responsibility.
I agree
I would
with
agree.
Commissioner Webb on that. You too?
I would agree also.
All right, so we have a motion, a second. All those in favor of moving this agenda item?
Are we moving it or tabling it?
We're postponing consideration of it.
Well, so we're moving it to
I don't
under
think
the business agenda to schedule a work session. Isn't that what we're doing?
Staff can do either. We can go through and work on the technical edits that Commissioner Webb spoke to and bring it back to the board, or we can schedule a work session.
Madam Chair, I would prefer a work session. I think I agree with Commissioner Webb that the purpose of a revolving fund is to continue to provide ongoing funding, and that we don't want to set a precedence of paying for a developer's due diligence when that indicates a lot about the developer's capacity to perform on the project. So that's not our job, I think, or an appropriate use of our revolving fund. But I think a work session would be the best way to explore that, because it is a significant tool that we want to be able to use going forward.
That's fine. Staff tomorrow will send out a doodle poll to see when a good work session time might be. Does that work?
Do I need a separate motion for the work session?
I don't think so.
Would that come at the end of the business agenda?
No, I think you've just moved to table this tonight, and then staff will set a work session later, and then after you've had your work session, if you want to move forward on this, it can go back on your agenda at that time.
Okay.
So do we have to have a separate motion to say, I table this item?
I think her motion to pull it or postpone it tonight is sufficient to equate to table. So if you vote on that, you've covered yourselves.
All right, so those in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Okay. All right. We have a presentation, Gobi update on Agate Street Rehabilitative Housing Project.
It should kind of cover you all. It's something new we're trying.
Oh, okay.
Good evening. My name is Karen Wheeler, and I'm a Business Development Director with Gobi, Greater Oregon Behavioral Health Incorporated. Gobi is a managed behavioral health organization serving these 3 counties of Tillamook, Clatsop, and Columbia through our CCO partner, Columbia CCO, Columbia Pacific CCO, I'm sorry. And we also serve residents in Eastern Oregon and most of the Eastern Oregon counties. I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves, and then I'll come back and talk about the project and give an update, if that's okay.
Certainly.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Brandsma, and I too am from Gobi. I am the substance use disorder manager.
My name is Marty Hughes, and I am the property manager for Northwest Oregon Housing Authority, who is partnering with Gobi on this project.
And I'm Amy Unflesh. I'm the district manager for DHS, and I oversee the child welfare, self-sufficiency, and food stamp programs in Tillamook, Clatsop, and Columbia County.
And I'm Megan McKee. I'm the Child and Family Program Manager at Clatsop Behavioral Health Care.
Chair, I'm just wanted to do a volume check. Can the people in the room hear? I'm seeing a lot of heads shaking. So I know you have a lot of important information, and I know everybody here would like to hear it. So
Go ahead and pull it to you.
Okay. Okay. So this is a really happy story, and I'm glad to be able to bring it to you. We are very near completion of a construction rehab on the property on Agate Street. I believe the address is 599 through 600 or 605 or something like that. It's a fourplex. And we're very appreciative of the commission for giving us this property, donating this property to us. We've been working on this rehab for about a year now. And a year prior to that, we applied to the Oregon Housing and Community Services for a grant, which we were granted that with outside control at the time because we did not have a property. We were looking and looking for properties in Seaside and Astoria and all around here. So it was just a great donation. It came at the perfect time. So Gobi is also putting our money into this, about $140,000. So coupled with the $200,000, and we're doing a little bit of fundraising to do some gap funding for the project to finish it out right now. So right now, well, just to describe the property, I don't know if any of you've seen it, but it has a beautiful view. But the property, I remember driving up to it in the very beginning and thinking, oh, it was just an eyesore. It was built in 1901, I think, and the siding was all deteriorated and dilapidated, all different colors of different shades of blue and yellow. The inside was completely, I was almost afraid to walk through it because the ceilings were falling down. There was rats had obviously been there, food, and there was some drug paraphernalia found also in the place when we did all the clean out. So it had been used. I don't know if people were coming in and using drugs or people that lived there were using drugs, but there was definite evidence of that. So we got it all cleaned up. Right now, at this point, the plumbing is all done and brand new, sparkling clean pipes. I just saw it tonight. It's gorgeous. The electricians should be done in about a week or so. The siding is going up. There's 2 sides of the house that now have brand new siding. It's got brand new windows. It is going to be gorgeous. And it's to me, it's a metaphor for the women who will be living in this house. There will be women who are either pregnant or have little children or children of different ages. Let me back up. This house went from being a fourplex where one of the units didn't even have a bedroom. And it was very hodgepodge. There'd been a lot of work, from someone doing work on the house, probably without permits. So we've turned it into that, from that to, there's 2 3-bedroom units upstairs. And one of the 3 bedrooms has 2 baths. It's quite spacious. And then the 2 units downstairs have 2 bedrooms, and they're also quite spacious. They'll all have very nice kitchens, all new appliances, new flooring. Everything is going to be completely new. The roof was great in the house, and the foundation is great. So it had really good bones and perfect house to work with. So 10 bedrooms. We've turned it into 10 bedrooms from, I think it was 5 before. Everyone The other thing I want to say, I've been coming here once a month to this community, so I've really kind of grown to like your community a lot. I'd like to move here. But the people that I've been working with, that we've worked with on this project, we've all become friends. We got to dinner together. This community just has such a heart for people. I've been so impressed. Todd Johnston, the housing director here at NOHA, I call him a unicorn, a housing director unicorn. I've never run into anybody with such a, yes, I think we can do that, yes. So all the units will have project-based subsidies that were approved by NOHA. And then the women can stay up to 2 years, but if they're there a year and they're ready to kind of move on, we've also been approved by NOHA to get a HUD voucher. They can take that with them and go to their next place. This is really a great launching point for these women who are new in recovery from substance use disorders. And for their children, this is a really multi-generational model. It's not just for the women, it's also for the children. So today, we met with early childhood and parenting folks that do all that work, and we're integrating that conversation into a really nice coordination of services with Clatsop Behavioral Health and DHS. So I don't have a script, so I'm likely to blather on. I don't want to do that. But I just want to thank you so much. I see some new faces from the time I was here before, but thank you for all the work you do for the people who live here. It's just a great place with great partnerships. I do have a plaque for you that hopefully you can hang somewhere.
We love plaques.
I don't know where. It's not that expensive of a gift, so I hope it's okay to give it to you. And I'll bring that up to the chair.
Love to see
Madam
it.
Chair,
May I? You want to go up and I'll...
did you want to get a picture? Does
Yes.
anyone want to get a picture?
If we could.
Should we stand and have a
Photo opportunity.
All of us?
Everybody?
Yeah, everybody.
We're going to
be sitting a long time.
You can stand, yeah, I'll just so that we can,
Just stand a little.
I want to get one of you handing it to them.
Get over here.
Ooh, neat.
Class plaque.
You're right.
Wow, that's cool.
You're standing fine now. I'm going to get a little closer if that's okay. Oh, that's not a good angle.
Thank you. Thank you.
Madam Chair, may I ask a question?
Yes.
The Oregon Housing Stability Council, you know, they have community groups or community programs come in and proclaim their success stories to the Oregon Housing Stability Council. Wouldn't it just be lovely to see you all there with photographs before and after or whatever, so that the members of this statewide Housing Stability Council can share in the joy of your achievement?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I did see you at one of their meetings, and I was so nervous up there talking to them for some reason that I forgot your name. But I did call out the commission, and I
Thank
just
you.
really appreciate it.
But now is the time when we can say, and look at our success, because it's really
Yes.
wonderful what you've done, and I want to encourage you to continue to make it visible.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'd love to get invited back in about 6 months, and we'd like to bring a resident. Yeah. Really sort of talk about, wow, this is what it's been like to live here, safe, you know, warm, with my kids, I don't have to worry about being homeless. And somebody who works for Department of Human Services and Child Welfare Housing. Stable housing is sometimes that one last thing to keep a family getting reunified. Like, well, you need, you know, stable housing, and this provides it, and it's sober living, this wraparound services. It's really a dream. So, and I think the other thing that we wanted to emphasize tonight is it's really easy to sort of think about these big problems, and they're really complex, and how do we even start? And sometimes it just starts with a sort of dilapidated house. And you've got these government systems that I think when you sort of bring everybody together, you feel a little braver to take a risk, and maybe push a policy here and there that you wouldn't by yourself. But when you have everybody else at the table doing the same thing, and like I say, I know I have stretched some child welfare things and some DHS things, but I've seen everybody do just the same. And as a result, there's gonna be women that are gonna be clean and sober and with their kids. And
Thank
really
you.
being productive, I know.
That's-
So we would love to come back in about 6 months and
Oh,
bring
we
somebody.
would appreciate that.
Okay, great. And we'll have pictures this time.
I was gonna
We want to
say,
do a
yeah.
very dramatic before and after.
Before and
'cause
after.
Now it just looks a little bit more
Wonderful.
like a construction site. Yeah.
But in
Thank you.
Salem,
I-
too.
I have a question. Is this the property that, Commissioner Sullivan, that you brought up at
Well, no, it's,
a different one?
there was a property in the Alderbrook neighborhood that was up for foreclosure, and when I brought that idea forward, we ended up transferring that to Clatsop Community Action,
So
wasn't it?
this is a different
And so
property?
then that idea of doing that kind of blossomed into this one too, so.
Ah.
But it's the county staff that have done just a fabulous job, and appreciate you doing this. Thank you.
Rock on, county
It's your trailblazers. I'm talking about you wherever I go, and I'm talking about the Housing Authority. Gobi has a conference every year, every spring, and Todd Johnson has agreed to be a speaker at the conference this year, and just to show people, hey, this is what can happen if you have really good partnerships and you have the good intention of the county commission.
Think outside the box.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm very proud of you all.
Well, we really appreciate the feedback and the update to know what's going on. It's important for us to continue on doing good work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
This is an opportunity for anyone to give, this is business from the public, and an opportunity for anyone to give a 3-minute presentation about any item on the agenda except public hearings or any topic of county concern that is not on the agenda. People wishing to speak during the business from the public must fill out and sign a public comment sign-in card, and we have 3 here. First one is Ron Weber. Please come forward and state your name.
I've got some handouts for you guys,
Yeah.
too.
Thank you.
Please state your name and address.
Ron Weber, 14415 Evergreen Acres Lane, Seaside, Oregon, 97138.
I ran out.
Do you have one more?
I can share, you can share.
Okay.
One more.
Oh, here's one more.
Thank you.
Should be.
So you have 3 minutes.
Sure. That's a hard act to follow. This is in regards to property at 82483 Maple Road, Seaside, Oregon. On your first cover sheet, it'll show you what we're talking about here. The highlighted part, the yellow part backs to Cow Creek, which is a small yellow line, which funnels into the Nehalem River. The second page is the actual lot itself, 1900. First page of your pictures shows the actual property. It's an aerial photo taken from Maple Road toward Cow Creek, which backs the property. Note there are 7 expired plate vehicles on the property and piles of sickening trash which have only been added by the owner. The second picture, property is close proximity to the rural road, which everyone living, visiting, and doing business must go right by. And this obviously is not a confidence builder for the people that are in positions of authority that are paid to look out for our best interests and well-being. Picture number 3 is the back addition to this single wide, where it shows the foundation had eroded and toppled off into and polluted Cow Creek. These pictures show all the pollution, health, and blight issues from that. History, how did we get here? This property has been reported to Clatsop County Health and Code Enforcement and whoever would listen for over half a decade. And now it's been abandoned for several years. Now, since October 2018, Clatsop County is the owner. And they got it in a text finally, which they would probably sell it as is, and the problem would just continue on. There should be no indifference by this commission toward the rural area and should be given the same respect as anywhere else in the county. To have this site to drive by to your own homes would never be tolerated by you people. When I ask this question, thoroughly think your answer over. What are you prepared to do and when? We want you to clean this up now that we actually know who the owners are. And just to be transparent with you, I will also give the same packet to the local media. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any thoughts, questions, or concerns?
Normally, we have business from the public where you can speak for 3 minutes. We may choose to refer this to our staff. But there has not been a back and forth. That may be changed in the future, but right now, that's the way it has been.
Which staff?
Our county staff.
The people I just listed. I'm sorry. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So, Madam Chair, if there's a way to put this on a high priority list with staff, I would be eager to do that. I know that we don't have that precedent, but this is certainly a blight, and I would like to see it addressed as immediately as possible. And since we're the owners of record, I'd like to hear back from staff on what can be done and how fast.
Commissioners, it is in the process of being addressed, and we are taking steps. It might not be as fast as what the neighbors would like, but we are doing our due diligence to make sure that we aren't doing anything that would be something that could come back and cause us to have legal issues.
I'd like a fuller report if we could get one. Thank you for that information. I appreciate it.
Our next person is Jennifer Rauda.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Rauda. I live at 7 Skyline Place here in Astoria. This evening I'm here representing Agile Design on behalf of Mark Cox. As each of you know, Agile Design is involved in a sizable development project in North Coast Business Park. I'm confident I speak for Mark when I say that we have been very appreciative and encouraged with all the helpful and professional interactions we've had with everyone at the county as we move forward with our project.
Can I ask you really quick, because the audience can't hear, if you sit down closer to the microphone there,
Certainly.
and then that way, hopefully your voice will carry further. Sorry.
No, thank you. I just wanted to clarify a misperception.
I think you need to move it closer.
Okay, sorry. Can you hear me now? Yes. Okay. I wanted to correct a misperception and to clarify that the IDRF funds that Agile was interested in would not be requested for due diligence. Agile already hired multiple consultants for that, including myself. Agile will apply for funds per discussions he already had with the previous county manager to help complete the master plan and permitting application deficiencies that are outstanding and a deterrent to business park development. On the agenda tonight, the board chose to table business item 7C, a policy for distribution of industrial development revolving funds. It is our understanding that these funds were set aside specifically to serve as economic incentives for industrial development within the county. We believe the policy should be as encouraging as possible to developers who assume risk as they work on projects that are expected to produce positive, long-term economic benefit to the county. Providing a way to streamline the approval process under certain circumstances makes sense to us, and we hope you agree, as time can become a significant barrier to entry for the most worthwhile endeavors, By including a public notice and award process as an alternative to a public solicitation award process, county commissioners will have flexibility to streamline the distribution of funds under certain circumstances, yet maintain oversight to remain confident that monies are used in a productive and equitable manner. I would encourage a work session to discuss this topic, and hopefully soon, because the due diligence period granted by you to Agile is ticking. We believe the application process itself can be relied upon to vet the use of the funds. Distributing awards as grants will send a strong signal that the county fully supports industrial development and economic growth, as well as encourage private investors in these projects. We're just offering to help expedite that for public good, and we've appreciated your unanimous support of the prior commission and are encouraged and have seen positive support for the data center from this commission. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Josie Pepper.
I'm Josie Pepper. I live in Astoria, Alderbrook, 5276 Ash Street. And I would like to request that the commission look into the issue of smart meters being put on homes in around the county by Pacific Power. I understand there are some people who think that there's some danger and safety issues involved. There are other people who say it's unconstitutional for them to charge us $30+ a month if we want to opt out, which we're allowed to do, but for a fee. And I understand also that there are several other counties in the state of Oregon who are taking legal action against the smart meters going in. So I think, and I think it needs to be, I want to know more about it, and I want my commissioners to look into it. They're supposed to start putting them on homes this month, I understand, and I would like to know more about it before I tell them if I want them to do it or not. So I'm hoping that you folks will have the time to look into that issue, maybe check with other counties who are opposing it. Thank you. And I'm sorry I wasn't prepared to speak tonight because I thought it was going to be on the agenda. So
Thank you.
So, Madam Chair, I have some information about that. Do you want me to hold it, or do you want me to offer it now?
I think we're going to have a presentation on the smart meters in the future from Pacific Power, and we could have a discussion at that time, and the public can be here to hear what. But I don't think it'll be a public hearing. It will be a presentation, but
Madam Chair.
I think.
Excuse me, I intended tonight to make a motion to ask the appropriate staff to take a look at this issue. I've been doing a lot of research on this issue. I have a very large file folder. There's a huge amount of research, both pro and con, and it's very confusing. And I do think because the calendar's ticking, these things are about to happen, and I've gotten a lot of requests from citizens asking us to please think about this, because if we're going to take any action, it has to be really soon.
Madam Chair, I would add to that. I've been hearing a lot too. I understood from the Pacific Power Regional Manager, Lisa Dunlap, at yesterday's CEDAR meeting that this was to begin February 11th in Clatsop County. I understand further that the Association of Oregon Counties, Rob Bovet, legal counsel, is looking into a statewide response to this issue. So it's very complex. It's very, it's long-term. I think it's good to have Pacific Power's regional manager here to speak with us, but there are a lot of other people with a lot to say about it. And February 11th is very soon. It's before our next meeting. So I don't know that we this body can do anything, but I know that there is a community that's concerned about it, and I wouldn't want us to step over that.
Commissioner, if I can add, because I was at the meeting as well, and one thing that Elisa Dunlap did say is that if their people show up at a citizen's property to install the smart readers, that they can say, please do not install this, and then there is a form that you would need to complete if you are choosing to opt out. But what I think you probably could do, and I would encourage you, which she asked us to do, is to contact Elisa Dunlap, is ask if you can opt out so that you can gain more information, because there is an opt-out fee. They are trying to make it more affordable, but if you say that you would like to opt out, or ask them not to install it at that time, so then you can gather more information, because I believe they are starting February 11th, and she said hoping to be done by like June or July.
The end of June is what I
Yeah.
heard.
So there would be some time if you, once you gain that information, to have them come back and then install the meter. And we are scheduling a presentation from Pacific Power, and you know, we could probably make arrangements if there are people who are against this, to have the opportunity to present their information.
And if I could add further, I too heard Ms. Dunlap say that there were opt-out provisions. I did a little more research and understand that, I don't know if this is anecdotal evidence that's accurate or inaccurate, but what I was told was that people who had attempted to opt out were really not able to effectively do that, that they had said they wanted to opt out and they came back and the meters had been installed on their houses and so on. I don't know if that's true. What I do know is that there is a lot of contradictory talk about this. So here we are in the midst of this controversy, trying to do the best we can to get factual information before people so we can have a reasonable civic discussion about this. So I appreciate your coming, Josie. It's good to see you.
County
Madam
Council.
Chair, one other thing I would point out is that the county would not have jurisdiction within the city limits. So folks who live within the city limits of Astoria should be working, and of course the county can work as well, but working with the cities on this.
Thank you.
And I want to say, I've also heard from constituents that are concerned about this too.
I think we all have. I also spoke to some people at Pacific Power, and it's my understanding that these meters are second, third, fourth generation, and the problems that were occurring in the earlier ones, they say are not occurring now. And these have been installed everywhere. This is not something new, it's just new to us. I don't know if that helps at all. Okay, we'll move on to the next item of business is the consent calendar. Are there any items to be removed from the consent calendar?
Madam Chair, I would move to adopt the consent calendar.
I second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any against? Okay. Now we move on to the business agenda.
So it is that time of year again. We are getting started with the budget process. What you just adopted in the consent calendar was appointing the budget officer. And so now what we're looking to do is to adopt the budget policies and resource management strategy. So there's many factors that dictate how the county must budget resources, and there are certain services that by law the county must provide. These include elections, health services, land use planning, law enforcement and jail management, property deed recording and survey mapping, road construction and maintenance, and tax assessment and collection. Being able to provide these services dictates where and how the county must budget their resources. So when crafting the budget, there are certain questions that must be answered during the budget process. Those being, what services do we want? How do we pay for these services? And how much shall we pay for the services? When answering these questions, county staff as well as the budget committee members need to take into consideration the community's values, given that how the county spends these budgeted resources is reflected of those values. So to quote page 3 of the board's budget policies manual, and an important point to put emphasis on during the budget process, is that staff will prepare fiscally conservative budgets and will seek savings wherever a balance between cost efficiency and the quality of public service can be achieved. And staff hears that from me every year on a regular basis. So the purpose of the budget policies is to assist the Board of Commissioners, the county manager, and department heads in the financial management of the county. The policies help communicate to the public the guiding principles how the county will follow in preparing the coming year's fiscal services. In addition, by incorporating the guidelines of the county's long-term financial plan within the policies, it helps to promote sound financial management, stability, and efficiency of the county's resources. The long-term financial plan focuses on key issues such as controlling the size of the county's government by matching spending to available resources, maintaining adequate reserves, and paying for ongoing expenses from permanent funds rather than volatile revenue resources. In an effort to establish a framework that will continue to guide the county through ever-changing economic times, the policies include a practice of base budgets, which means that departments will add no new staff unless specifically authorized by the board, as well as no increases in materials and services. Additional guidelines set forth by the policy are to provide financial stability to the county include departments pursuing other revenue sources whenever possible, not spending funds that could be saved during the current fiscal year, and not backfilling any shortfalls in state or federal funding by using county revenues. The county's priority services that are funded by discretionary resources that are listed in priority level with first preference to statutorily mandated services are public safety and justice, public health, general government direct services, which includes departments such as assessment and tax, elections and records, and the Board of Commissioners. Community development, land use, transportation, and housing are number 4, and culture and recreation 5. Should the county be faced with a potential reduction in resources, the county's goal is to continue to provide the high priority services in a professional, effective, and cost-effective manner, efficient manner. To the extent possible, across-the-board reductions in expenditures will be avoided, and reductions will instead be made on a case-by-case basis focusing on individual programs or services. So the crafting of the annual budget is approximately a 6-month process. It begins in November and then continues and comes to fruition in June when it is adopted by the board. The process is made possible by the combined efforts of all departments as well as the commissioners and lay budget committee members. On page 89 in your agenda packet, you can find the complete budget calendar, but the budget calendar represents the timeline of events that need to occur in order for the budget to be adopted in compliance with local budget law. Please note in this section here that these are the important dates to remember. The board and lay budget committee members will need to be in attendance for during the April and May months, starting with the first budget committee meeting, which is where the county-wide budget message will be presented, and that is scheduled for April 24th from 4 to 6 p.m. prior to the regularly scheduled board meeting. This will be where we present the budget message and you receive your budget document. Additional countywide meetings are scheduled for May 1st, beginning at 9 a.m., And then following on May 7th, also beginning at 9 a.m., the district budget committee meetings are scheduled for Wednesday, May 8th at 5 p.m., again prior to the regularly scheduled board meeting. And if necessary, a final opportunity for additional discussion on the countywide budget is scheduled for May 9th. Are there any questions?
I have one question, and I don't know if we can answer that, but considering what's happening nationally with the government shutdown, that I know that if that continues, that's going to, we get a lot of pass-through money from that. How do we address that? Is that something you all have talked about?
So I have checked with some of the departments who do receive those federal funds. At this point in time, they are just now turning in their second quarter revenue grant reporting. And so at this point, they have not been, county departments have not been affected. As to how long this shutdown goes on, where they potentially could see the effects is they're turning in their grant reports now. How much backlog is the federal government going to have to get through before they can process those second quarter requests? That part we don't yet know.
So if it's in our policy not to backfill when money doesn't arrive, does that mean that those services that would be taken care of with federal funds come to a standstill until we get that money?
That would be something that we could look at. At this point in time, the departments would use reserves that they have in order to offset the funding not coming through.
With the expectation we would be paid back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's my understanding, you know.
And this is a worst-case scenario.
Yes.
Maybe tonight at midnight it'll be changed. Who
Yeah,
knows?
yeah.
That'd be swell.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Question? PERS.
Yes.
Can you speak to the impact of PERS on this budget process?
So currently, a couple months ago, you guys did approve for us to use our PERS reserve fund to pay down our unfunded liability by $1 million. And so that will, by making that payment, that will help our future PERS rate. But at this point in time, we have built the cost sheets to include the current PERS rate, and as well as any applicable COLAs associated with that and health insurance increases. So at this point in time, we don't foresee PERS being a problem for this next fiscal year budget. And by paying down towards that unfunded liability amount, that will help our future PERS rate.
I would be comforted by seeing a projection not just for the next year, but going forward, because it's such a huge problem.
And the projection, I can look at as far as the PERS rate, but there's a lot of variables in regards to staff retirements and such. But in the budget message, we will have, you know, the forecasting overall, not just the PERS piece for the county funds.
I just have a burr about PERS. And so because it's such a big piece, and I know how complicated it is, and really I appreciate the work that you do, it's good work, I want to see something different. And so I see this budget right now, right here, the process as an artifact. So I wonder if you're contemplating changes in how we conduct. Right now we have a 6-month window of opportunity to speak to budget issues. And so I wonder if you're contemplating something different going forward.
In regards specifically to PERS?
The whole budget process, sorry, change of topic.
Okay.
The whole budget process. And just to add a little context to that, I've been working on statewide program budgets since 1970 in Michigan and in Alaska and in Oregon. As I've been a staff or a statewide program head, I've chaired the Tax Supervising and Conservation Commission, which signed off on the operating budgets of all the municipal corporations in Multnomah County. So looking at budgets, it's kind of a nerd's delight, right? I mean, yeah, you're laughing, you're one of me too, yes. I mean, if you love it, it's just really fascinating stuff. And what I've seen before is how useful it is, how helpful it is to have more community input in developing the budget, not presenting something as a done deal either to staff or to community stakeholders, because community stakeholders have ideas. I mean, we commissioners hear, I mean, I assume you all hear, because I know I hear community stakeholders who say, you know what, we aren't getting the service. I mean, you heard two of them tonight, or one come up to speak for two of them tonight, saying we're not getting the services we need. Now, I believe staff works very hard. I mean, the reason your budgets win awards is because they're really darn fine budgets. So great on that. But the process, staff works as hard as they can, but I'm telling you, in my mind, the process is not inclusive enough to really give us the picture that we need to have to move forward. And I believe that it's important to contain spending and to have adequate revenues, but if we don't look at where we need to invest ourselves, when we look at economic development, we have to grow our pot, because if we don't do that in Clatsop County, then we're going downhill. We can't keep up unless we grow our revenues.
So if I may, one adjustment that we have made to the budget calendar is April 24th will be when the budget is distributed and when the budget message is presented to the lay budget committee and budget committee members being the board. You cannot talk about the budget document until the budget message has been presented. So at that meeting, it is the intention to provide the budget document and present the budget message. So now you will have until May 1st and that April 24th meeting is open to the public. So the budget document will then be available to the public. Then at that May 1st meeting, the budget committee will have their first meeting, and there's an opportunity for the citizenry to come forward and also provide more input as to changes that they would like to see made.
Thank you for that opportunity. That's a week-long opportunity. What I'm suggesting, our number 4 priority is housing and community development. We have a housing crisis here. It's like a wildland fire. It's destroying our community. So in my mind, and I've been trying this is my beginning of my 5th year sitting on this dais, I have been so ineffective at shifting the priority of our attention and our funding to be able to deal more effectively with that. And I understand that people have had good reasons for saying, no, we want to keep things the way they are. That's not what I see and hear when I'm doing liaison with stakeholders. So there are a lot of changes that I think are advisable, and a week is better than nothing. I'm used to having all year round. I chair, just a minute, I'm not done, I'm getting there, I'm a little wound up, okay? So I chaired a citizen budget and policy advice body in Portland. We spent all year long hearing from departments all through Portland, hearing from citizens doing budget and policy advice all year long. And so I'd like to see us, we don't have to do it all year long, but I'd like to see, it's a good trend. I'd like to see more.
So if I may, our staff listens to the citizenry and the board all year long. When we have these public comment periods and they're coming forward and they're saying, we're frustrated because we have this, we have people who are in the planning department, who are in the public health department, who are hearing those comments and concerns and also recognizing the work that they're doing within their department. So when they're compiling their requested budget, they're taking the information that they hear from the citizenry or the things that they see when they're out and about, going, and when the code enforcement person is going to one property and she's driving by and seeing another one, she's adding those things to her list. And then she's going to her department head saying, look, I'm finding this, I'm needing this. And then the staff are coming forward and making those requests. Additionally, we're listening all year long when the commission is saying, we would like to see staff move forward on a project such as this, and they're saying, okay, that's great, I want to be able to do that, but I'm going to need to request more resources in my budget. And so I appreciate and understand what you're saying, and I do feel that staff takes a very concerted effort to listen to the citizenry when they are requesting their budget and presenting that to the budget committee. Does that answer your
May I-
question or concern?
May I?
Yeah.
If you have a question.
Do you have a,
Please.
are you yielding?
Please.
This is about my 40th budget rodeo in Oregon, and I've never seen a citizen participation process as limited as this is. I think it's outrageous that, I'm sure that staff listens, of course they do. But to go to our citizens, I also very much don't like the word lay committee. They are our citizens. Some of them are pastors and some of them are lay people. But I just think it's outrageous for this process to go for 4 months being entirely an in-house endeavor among our staff without any citizen input. I think it is outrageous. I think we should be ashamed of that. I've done a few budgets in my life, and I mean, I don't know if there are other places in Oregon that do this, but I think to bring citizens in, first of all, for a 9 to 5 meeting, which is a burden on any person who is not being paid on the county staff. I think that's an inordinate number of hours to ask people to go through what is very tough going in terms of understanding. And to ask them to do it with only 1 week apart, 6 days apart, I find it rather reprehensible to ask our citizens to have input when we don't give them a forum for input. There are so many different ways that this county could be doing this that would allow for much more citizen input from the get-go. I mean, I can think of 15 different ways that we could inject citizen involvement earlier. My other comment is that I would strongly urge that the county think about a 2-year budget. The state produces a 2-year budget, which makes so much of the pass-through money that we get from the state over a 2-year cycle that we can predict in advance. I just think it needs to be a more open process.
So what are some of your suggestions to open the process up?
Oh my God, there's so many different ways.
Could we have a work session on this?
That would
I
be
mean,
lovely.
I thank you for your responsiveness and willingness to hear, because I know you're in a different position now. I hear that, and I respect that. But this has been, I mean, heartbreaking for me to have this be the way it's been. I would love to be able to bring more thought and consideration to having a process. If you're open to hearing that, I would love to have a work session on that.
What, I think some of these comments would have been better heard and useful to the county manager, but
well, I made my comments to the county manager a month ago, and
okay.
so they've been heard.
But what we have now, unless there's further questions to the county manager.
Well, I feel like there's several layers of conversation going on here. One was the overview of what we're looking at, and then 2, there was comments about the process, and then for myself, I had a comment about something that has been a concern of mine for about 2 years now, so I would like to bring that up if that's appropriate at this time. So it's concerning it's under the, it's performance pay is what the issue is. And so,
I think in February, aren't we going to be able to discuss some of these things? with the
In
budget?
February, what I'm bringing before the board is the board's budget. And so if this is in regards to the budget policies, and because that's ultimately what is before the board right now, is the adoption of the budget policies and resource management strategy. And so if there's a change that you want to make to the budget policies, or if you want to adopt the budget policies as is, we can, that doesn't eliminate the possibility to still have a work session, but this is establishing the budget policies, so that way we can move forward with the budget process.
so under employee salary adjustments, the program that was set in place, I think about 2 years ago, performance pay. I would like to make a motion that we do not provide performance pay for government employees. That's what I've been thinking about. I think the county, I recognize that the county has some fantastic employees. I have no complaint. I also recognize that the county is a very important employer of citizens in Clatsop County, but I also recognize that in the scheme of things, I feel there's a lot of good things going on. There's a reason why people want to work for the county, and that when you're thinking about PERS, possibly providing another 4% of an annual pay for department heads, I don't think that's prudent. And what we see, I've talked to people about looking forward for the economy, I just think it'd be prudent to remove this new program that's just been in place for 2 years. And so that's the motion. I don't know if this is the time to make a motion for that, for us to discuss it, or something to revisit, but that's something that I'm concerned about.
Madam Chair, point of order. Could I ask if council if that's a legal motion to make? Is that? If I say point of order, you have to stop and answer, right?
Well, the motion would just simply, it's a specific section of the budget policies.
It's on page 95, it's section 10, employee salary adjustments. And what Commissioner Sullivan is proposing is an additional, a step C to eliminate or to not have performance.
Because I looked for that, it's not in here, but I know that
It's not in there, but what you're proposing is to add that there is not performance pay in.
Yeah, that new layer of compensation that was just put in
So I
place.
think your motion then is, in section 10, you want to add a 10C to say that there will be no performance pay for government employees.
Correct. And that would be for this budget,
For the
2019, 2020.
And that's your motion.
That's my motion, yes. Do I hear a second?
Is there a second?
I'll second it for purposes of discussion.
Discussion.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Usually when a new program like this is put in place, I'm sorry.
This is concerning this particular motion?
Yeah. Usually when you put a new program, into play, after a year or two, you usually do an evaluation of it to see how it's working. Has that happened?
I can honestly say no. We did, the first year was this last June was when the funds were paid out. And so as to being able to fully evaluate it, Cam has since left that position, and I don't know, there were, it's my understanding that the county manager was supposed to review all all performance pay approvals. And I don't know that that entirely happened. Department heads were able to provide their supervisors with performance pay. To my knowledge, the only ones that the county manager reviewed was the department heads. So I don't know, to be able to say the full success of it, I can't comment to that, no.
But this was a new policy that was put in place about 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was part of the, we're in the 18, it was part of the 17-18 fiscal year, and so the first payouts were made June 30th, 2018. And then this fiscal year, 18-19, is the second year of it. And so the goals were set at the beginning of the fiscal year, and then in June, they'll be evaluated, and depending on whether or not they were met, would depend on what's paid out, again, June 30th, 2019.
And this motion does not affect what would be paid out in
Nope,
in
this
June.
motion
This
would
is
be-
just going forward into the next budget.
Yep, into the 19-20 fiscal year. The Budget Committee and the board already approved the 18-19 performance pay. This would be moving forward.
Give me a beginning date.
July 1st, 2019.
Okay, thank you.
So we have a motion and a second, and
But I have more questions too, sorry.
questions or comments?
Questions.
Okay. All right.
Well, I'm looking at how to balance effectively employee motivation. This is supposed to be employee motivation that's done in a way that's fiscally prudent and geared toward results achieved. And what I just heard is it's really not possible to, because those considerations either have not been done or have not been developed in a report. Would it be sufficient, Commissioner Sullivan? Do you want to see a report, or do you just want to do away with it? I'm not clear.
I'd like to remove it from the budget policy.
Please help me understand your logic.
I feel that we have a good pay system. 90% of the health premiums are paid. The health savings account is paid. We just at this last budget, we gave them a COLA raise of 3.7 or 1 or something. They have vacation pay, they have retirement pay, they have step pay, they have, and so I believe that we have, I think we have a well-paid staff, and I'm very concerned about PERS. And so to add another potentially 4% of someone's annual salary on top of what they're already getting paid, I just don't think we should be doing that at this time until we get this PERS problem under control. So for me, I know that the county is a good place to work, and there's a reason for that. And I just don't think it's necessary to have this performance pay on top of that.
The idea of the performance pay is, what I remember is we had, the department or individuals would have to show that they had saved a substantial amount, a certain amount of money.
No, that's not correct.
That's not correct?
I mean, to a certain extent, there is a financial goal associated with it, but that's just one of the 4 goals that they have. And that could be, it could be that they bring in additional revenue, grant revenues, or an additional revenue source, or part of their financial stability goal should not be to realize significant savings, because that's part of the budget policies. That's part of what they're supposed to be doing anyways.
Okay. I'm curious to know what the other commissioners think about this. I mean, this is really, I think it's a significant issue, and I share your concerns about PERS, but I really want to hear from every commissioner to weigh in.
Could we start with what you think about it, Commissioner Thompson?
PERS is a really big deal in my book, and I worked in this county at non-county jobs to have, this is more approaching adequate and stable income than many jobs in this county. So my tendency is to think, and I think it's because I was a trade union person for a long time, third-generation trade union. I think, well, it's the working people who produce the value, so why should the bosses get the money? With all due respect to every department head and supervisor and boss, it's the working people who produce the value, because it's the work of working people upon which everything rests. And so if the money doesn't go into money for supervisors and department heads, then there's more to share for the people, for everybody, not just a segment, a layer of workers. So my tendency is to vote with you on this.
Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Well, I want to hear.
Sure, I'll make a comment about it. I have heard, and I share your concerns about PERS and that people are doing their jobs and they should get paid for the job that they do, and whether this performance pay is something that's necessary or not in order to do the job, I guess is up for discussion. I'm not familiar with doing this kind of a motion. I thought we would have a work session, maybe talk about this issue first before we would make a motion to cut performance pay. So this is something that I would feel more comfortable with, is actually we're going to do a work session, we're going to talk about the budget document, that we would actually do this discussion about performance pay at that time, rather than make a motion, because I'm not as well versed in it as you are. Don't know the policy as strongly as others, but you know, I'm certainly open to it. I'd like to have it in a work session. And as far as I wanted to say one other thing about the budget is if it's okay. I had my discussion with the county manager. We talked about some alterations and modifications to the budget schedule. I appreciate that you did do that, because that's what the 24th budget message meeting was about, was to give you an opportunity and the public an opportunity to have a little more time to digest it before coming back to the first budget meeting. And I appreciate that you did that. And we also talked about coming to the commission at various times along the process and giving us updates, so there wouldn't be surprises. We're not going to come to a budget and say, okay, there's a number of things that you're going to be, you know, that you need to consider, because it's going to be a big change from the last year's budget. You were going to give us some updates as we go. So I felt comfortable with that discussion, that there was going to be a give and take, and people were going to be communicating maybe a little more than in the past, so that we wouldn't have surprises when you come to the first budget meeting. But I appreciate what you did in making these adjustments. If we're going to have a work session, I would feel more comfortable having the performance pay discussion be part of that.
Can I ask a question? Monica mentioned that when the budget is distributed, the April 24th, how did you see that happening?
The lay budget committee members or the citizen budget committee members, as well as the board, will receive the budget document at that time, and that is when the budget message will be read and presented, because per budget law, until the budget message has been read, you cannot discuss the budget document. When we make it public to the citizen committee as well as the board, it is then also posted online, so it's available to the public, and we also put it in the public libraries. It's available to any citizens who want to go to their public library and see their current budget. And so it'll be available there as well.
So we have a motion and a second to remove.
I'd ask to remove the performance pay. I don't, just a minute here. Do I need to say it's under a certain segment, or?
Yeah. To add section 10C to the budget policies to remove performance pay.
But so this page is not, it would be under that segment, 10.
Section X,
10,
section, yeah.
X, employee salary adjustments, to add letter C, that the county does not pay performance pay to government employees. Is that worded correctly?
That's your motion, or you could say no performance pay for government employees.
Okay, no performance pay for county employees. Does that make sense?
I think Commissioner Webb seconded that, right?
Yes.
Clarifying question?
Sure.
Commissioner Quila said he'd rather have it in a work session. If we...
But we need to vote
Well, I
on
just
this
want to ask a
motion.
clarifying question, please. If we don't vote for this now, are you willing to have this be part of the work session?
Yes, the county staff has to continue to move forward with their part of developing the budget. And so we'll be moving forward without adopted budget policies. We would be moving forward under a status quo budget policy. And so what you could do is you could adopt the budget policies either as amended, as recommended by Commissioner Sullivan, or as they stand. We could have a work session, discuss it, and then we could, at the conclusion of the work session, we would then, if it was decided to remove the performance pay, we would then go and make those adjustments in the budget module.
But,
Do you want to withdraw?
well, I just have a question. So if we approve the policy as it is now, and then have a work session and then reopen the policy? I'm not even sure.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're wanting to have a work session on the budget policies, then no, we can't adopt them. But if you're wanting to have a work session on the budget process in regards to more public involvement, Currently, the performance pay is not in the budget policies, but what you could advise staff, so you could adopt the budget policies the way they are, have the work session, discuss more public involvement in the budget process, and have that work session and say, you know what, we want to have a budget that is presented to the budget committee without performance pay in it. Once you've come to a conclusion in your work session, you can you direct staff in a work session? No. No, we would go into a regular meeting, and then you would direct staff to budget without performance
So
pay.
since it's not stated explicitly in the budget policies, but it still goes on, I mean, it's still happening.
Yeah,
but not-
it's currently not a part of the budget policies. It was the county manager has the authority to adjust salary, and so that was a county manager decision to make that change. So, I mean, in all honesty, if you wanted to direct staff right now, as we're building the budget, to not include performance pay, you could direct staff to don't include performance pay when you're developing the 1920 budget. And so we would make that adjustment to our cost sheets now, and that's what would come before the budget committee is personnel costs without performance pay in it.
Because isn't performance pay generally in the area of about $130,000?
The amount budgeted. So the amount that performance pay is for management positions only. The amount that is budgeted gets, you have to include taxes, PERS, and that's it, taxes and PERS. And then, so the amount budgeted last year was approximately $130,000. At the end of June 2018, the amount that was paid out, total cost was approximately $77,000.
60% maybe.
So, well, I'm willing to make a motion, and if it passes, it passes. If it doesn't pass, then we can still talk about it at the work session. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Okay, I'd like my motion to stand.
All right. Let's have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Sullivan?
Yes.
Commissioner Webb?
No.
Commissioner Clayla?
No.
Commissioner Thompson?
No.
Commissioner Metzger?
No.
Thanks for raising the issue.
Yes.
I'll raise it again. Thank you.
Well, I'm looking forward to discussing it.
Yeah.
So thank you for raising it.
So we have now a motion before us to approve the resolution in order as presented and authorize the chair to sign. Do we have a motion? I have a question.
I don't know how to ask this.
I think, do the questions come after?
Okay, I'm confused. I was on the wrong page. I thought that this was going to be part of that, but it's not. It's separate. The industrial revolving fund, since we had tabled that. I got it mixed up.
Okay, this is the resolution and order as presented for the budget, the policies, the budget policies and resource management strategy.
Page 85. Okay.
83?
85, 4.
Page 84.
Well, the
To
84
approve the resolution and order as presented and authorize the chair to sign for the budget policies.
Not me.
I move that the board approve this resolution and order as presented and authorize the chair to sign.
Second.
Could we have a roll call? Please.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes. The ayes have it. Okay, item C is tabled. So now we move on to the liaison assignments, committees. And thank you to the commissioners who got back to me about the assignments that they would prefer. And let's see.
Teresa, do you have my papers? Thank you.
So the first one is the 4-H and Extension Advisory Service. And Commissioner Webb has agreed to accept this committee or council.
Madam Chair, could I make a comment before we start?
Yes.
When I looked through these, I noticed that at the very beginning, because they're in alphabetical order, there are a number of AOC committees listed. And those AOC committees are ones that I think Commissioner Thompson has kind of opted to opt in. And I, last week, had my first session of County College, at which I learned a great deal about AOC's work, et cetera. And the legislative process that AOC takes us through is pretty wonderful. I was awfully impressed with it. I think everybody got, I assume, the same package I got from AOC about the structure of legislative committees and other committees and about their plans for trying to husband through some changes in this very important large session of the state legislature. And I have an appreciation now for what Commissioner Thompson has been going through with traveling all over the state to these meetings. And I would really encourage my fellow commissioners to come forward and take some liaison responsibilities with AOC, because I think they're incredibly valuable. And I think that I'd love to see us do that and then be able to come back to the commission and say, you know, I would like the whole commission to stand and come forward maybe by testifying on behalf of the county in Salem for all the committee work that's being done right now. AOC has a one Monday a month that is all hands in Salem to do lobbying and testimony activities. And I think they're awfully important. When I look at the legislative agenda, there are so many issues that we care about and that affect us. And I'd really love to see all of the commissioners participate, because I think it would give us, I think it would be very, very good for our citizens if more of us could participate on these committees and taking these actions.
Well,
I'll get off my soapbox.
Yeah, thank
Madam
you.
Chair, if I could
But
just
these-
add to that
excuse me,
just a moment.
Excuse me, thank you, except that these are not listed, and this is what we're doing
No,
right now.
I know that. I just wanted to say that I hope that maybe in the future we could have a conversation or ask people to read the AOC print stuff that's like this thick, to see if there aren't opportunities that all commissioners could take to participate in those committees.
And
I just wanted to make it clear that these committees are not committees that somehow the board has established as important to us.
Right.
Because there are lots of other committees. I mean, Commissioner Thompson has just been sharing this huge, huge load that
Right.
I'd love to have some of us help her with.
thank you.
For the credibility and effectiveness of Clatsop County. Thank you, Commissioner.
This is the printout.
So we have the 4-H and Extension Advisory Service Council, and Commissioner Webb has agreed to take that. We have the ambulance service area. I did not hear from any commissioners that they wanted to take that. Is there anyone willing to take that on? Maybe we'll come back to that. The AOC Housing Subcommittee, now that's one of these AOC assignments. It's not really, this isn't one of our county assignments, but it's one that you prefer to be placed on, correct?
Madam Chair, there is no subcommittee as such because of the staffing cuts at AOC. There is, however, a housing group, so that's really a more accurate nomenclature. And I do it because it's a way to promote economic development within Clatsop County, and it's a way to secure housing dollars for Clatsop County. So that's why I participate in that.
Okay. And the AOC Legislative Committee.
That's an appointment, and that is part of the body that votes on AOC lobbying positions.
And you want to be on that?
I'm an appointed member of that.
Okay, and the AOC Membership Committee?
Yes, ma'am.
And the AOC Resilient Counties Advisory Board?
I'm not doing that. That's, I can't.
Okay.
Can't do that.
May I ask a question about the AOC? So my understanding is they have because I haven't been able to participate other than County College. So they have the once a month Monday meeting where commissioners from all over the state go to Salem and they participate in a number of different committees. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so, and in order to be on like an appointed or to be in an executive steering committee of these different committees or these different subject areas, you go to district meetings and you get appointed through that. So
That's the ledge committee. That's not the policy committees. The policy committees, if people come, they can be part of those. The part of the policy committees that is mandated, for example, I'm now vice chair of the AOC Transportation and Economic Development Committee. I mean, to my knowledge, that's the first time a Clatsop County commissioner has been the vice chair of a significant policy committee like that. And transportation, economic development is big money for Clatsop County. So that was an appointment by the executive, the AOC executive director. But to be a member of a committee, people can just come and be part of that. And
So you're
welcome.
You have several that you've been appointed to, that you go to as an appointed member. But if I were to have that Monday free, I can just go and attend because they're all public meetings, and there's the same for all the counties.
Heck yeah,
Right,
and I would be so grateful.
And we can talk more, I think, when we discuss more about the rules, about, how we bring the discussion back and how we decide on what's get pushed. But I think tonight, my understanding is that we're trying to get through this list. Is that what the plan is, to get through this list?
That is the
Okay.
plan.
And I
So
will-
if we could add to my list, the AOC Transportation and Economic Development Committee, and Commissioner Quila pointed out that it doesn't say my role because I'm vice chair of that, and that's important. That's important for Clatsop County and my ego. It means Clatsop County has credibility and effectiveness at a statewide level among other elected commissioners and judges in Oregon.
So maybe you can give us a list of what you've been appointed to on AOC and what your role is?
Yeah, that's I thought what we're doing tonight.
No, I know, but you said it wasn't on here.
not
so
on
I'm
I know, I
saying
gave
if
it
you
to
can add
Teresa,
that.
though. That's why I had to get my papers back.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. I will take the Arts Council, and Commissioner Webb has agreed to take the Board of Health.
BOPTA, I've been the BOPTA person for 4 years now. So the
Pardon
county,
me?
the Board of Property Tax Appeals, BOPTA, is the one after the Board of Health. And I've been this will be the 4th year. So the county clerk makes the appointment, but I've been the board's liaison. I've asked if other people wanted to be the board's representative to the Board of Property Tax Appeals. It's a great tutorial for learning about property tax law in Oregon if you have that kind of hunger. If you don't, I'll continue to do it.
I guess
Don't
you
look
get
at
to
me.
continue.
Nobody else has an appetite, huh? I'm telling you, if you're a nerd, it's just a great place.
The Budget Committee is everyone. Housing Authority is everyone. Clatsop,
Excuse me, can I ask how that works? What the
think-
housing authority is?
yeah, we talked about that.
I know, but I'm still confused, I'm sorry.
If I can, this board was trying to no longer become the Housing Authority Board. That hasn't taken place, so they continue to be a part of our financial statements as a discrete component unit. It was several years ago when that board was removed and the Board of Commissioners became the board of the Housing Authority. So you guys meet, I believe, once a month or every other month. Typically it's been held before your meeting. I think it starts at 5, and essentially they have their clerk of the board, they have Todd Johnston, and they have their counsel or legal advisor. And so it was not, my understanding is that it was not intended to be a long-term solution. It was a temporary solution until they stabilized and were able to establish a board themselves.
They being NOAA?
They being the Clatsop County Housing Authority. Yeah, they're going to merge with NOAA, so that's kind of been what's prolonging the situation. Okay.
Thank you.
There was a fund that had to be made whole.
The Clatsop Economic Development Resources, CEDAR, Commissioner Quila asked for that. I think that would be good.
I spoke with the Cedar Board yesterday because Commissioner Quilla said that he wanted to do that. I joined as a private member. I have a business, a consulting business. So I get to attend the meetings anyway. So we would have 2 commissioners. I'm happy to cede that to you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
The AOC Council of Forest Trust Land Counties, Commissioner Sullivan requested that.
Yes.
I have some concerns about the forestry policy we have. I'd like to put that on a bucket list I'm very concerned about that, and so as we do
About
this.
the dues?
I'm speaking about the fact that we're no longer at the table, and sometimes we're not even in the room, and so.
Those are the dues, and I think that's something that I'm happy to revisit.
But right now, we're doing
I just
committee
want to be clear
assignments.
on that.
No, I hear you.
Thank you.
And the Clatsop Forestry and Wood Products Economic Development Committee. Commissioner Thompson, do you still want to be on that?
Commissioner Webb, you've indicated that you're an ECDev person. Are you interested in that one? It's a fine group of folks, and it's a great learning experience.
I'd be agreeable to that.
Great.
Columbia Pacific Economic Development District, or COLPAC. Commissioner Quila requested that.
I object to that. I'm vice chair of that body. So I would prefer not to abandon my commitment to the group that's elected me as the vice chair of that. Thank you.
Let's keep in mind that we're trying to divide these committee assignments.
So if you would
more
prefer that I resign and let people know that I won't be available to be the vice chair, I can do that, Chair.
Commissioner Quila, is it important to you?
Well, I highlighted ones that I was interested in, that being one of them. But certainly I'm not here to, I mean, you've had an experience on there, so I'm fine with that.
Okay. I will take Crest. Community Action Team.
So I would prefer that someone else take that. It's a 4-hour drive for me. I was not the commissioner originally assigned to that in the previous board, but the commissioner who received the assignment didn't step up, didn't attend. So I was recruited to attend. I do. 4-hour drive is a long drive with a 2-hour meeting. So anybody who lives in Astoria, it's only an hour drive. So I would prefer that someone else take the community action team.
Do any of the commissioners have an interest in this, in taking this on?
It's a great group of people. It deals with housing and Head Start and all kinds of helping people work their way out of poverty. So it's a very empowering group. It's you get to work with other commissioners from Columbia and Tillamook County. So it's a way to build relationships and do good work.
Where do they meet and how long?
St. Helens.
So
It's from 2 to, yeah, it's an hour from here. It's as I said, it's
What days does it meet?
the fourth Monday, 2 to 4.
Monday's a bad day for me.
I'm really asking for help on this one, because that's a long drive.
Maybe we can come back to that. Chair.
Is this one that is part of our county committees, our regular committees?
It does say that it's required by the charter or agreement. Is there an option that there is a call-in number for those who are?
I want to tell you, I've tried to call in, it's a misery, because the sound says that people rustle papers, and it's just, so if somebody else can listen on the phone and stand that, more power to you. I ended up driving because it was a preferable alternative for me.
Well, just a comment. I appreciate Commissioner Webb's comments about AOC assignments and the work that you've been doing with AOC, Commissioner Thompson, but we should prioritize, I think, the ones that are required and...
Isn't it required? I mean, the other counties have a county commissioner on. I think it's required. I mean, that's why I stepped up, because we didn't have a county commissioner
Well, and I
there.
appreciate that, but what I'm saying is we have a request to have more on here from, that would go to AOC, but here's one that's required. And
Well, why don't we, would it be possible to just kind of set this particular one aside for right now, continued on the list, and maybe, and it's something that we
Come
need
back
to
to
have
it?
the same commissioner go to each time, right? So there's continuity
Yeah,
of thought.
it's really better that way.
Okay, then we have the Fair Board, and I wanted to ask Commissioner Quila, would you be willing to serve on that?
Now, how often is that?
They meet once a month. It's typically the first Tuesday of the month. Their meetings start at 5:30, and they're generally pretty brief. They usually last about an hour.
I think it says 7 PM.
7 PM, it says Thursday, is that?
Yeah, that's not accurate. They
Oh.
they meet on the first Tuesday of the month, and
Okay.
and it starts at 5:30.
Well, yes, I will go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, the Trust Land Advisory Committee, Commissioner Sullivan requested this.
Thank you.
The Lower Columbia Solutions Group, Commissioner Webb requested this.
Good.
I will serve on the Human Advisory Services Advisory Committee. The National Association of Counties, that's the Board of Commissioners.
Yeah.
Let's see, where am I? The Natural Hazards Mitigation Plan Steering Committee. We don't have anyone for that.
Did we skip?
Oh, did I skip something?
Yeah, the Northwest Area Commission on Transportation?
No, it's,
Natural hazards mitigation.
you must have a different comment.
Natural hazards.
Right. Can't read the page number. I hope I'm on the right page.
That's
Do you have your
Northwest.
packet?
So Chair Nebaker, I've been going to the HPO Coastal Partner, that's the hospitals, rather than the Natural Hazards Mitigation Plan. I mean, if you,
Where is that? The
it's,
hospitals.
it's something that I got into because my affiliation with Dogami and the hospital folks and all the volunteers, and that's all the hospitals in the county are part of that in Columbia, Clatsop, and Tillamook. So I've been doing that instead of, and it's kind of a backdoor way of the Natural Hazards Mitigation Plan, but if the board wants a liaison to that, I can do that because I have a lot of experience in that.
To the Natural Hazards Mitigation?
Yeah, the steering committee. So that would be a natural for me.
Thank you.
Oh, good. Oh, good, thank you.
Good. And the Northwest Area Commission on Transportation, that's,
Yeah, I'm the
Chair, I have a
vice chair.
question about that.
Yeah.
It looks like when you read that the Northwest Area Commission, the act is also connected to the Northwest Oregon Regional Partnership. Is that true? Is one a steering committee of the other? I'm not understanding that.
So Colpack and Northwest Act meet on the same day, and it's the same staff and some of the same people, but not all of the same people. It's an advisory committee about transportation systems and issues, and I'm the vice chair of that as well. If you want to know more, I have lots of information.
So you're the vice chair of the Northwest Area Commission on Transportation, and then when you go down to the Northwest Oregon Regional Partnership, is that connected with that, or am I reading that wrong?
I am not,
You're on both of those.
I see that. I don't know. If it's regional solutions, I mean, I had a big question on
Because it
that.
says it's a standing committee of the Northwest Oregon Regional Partnership, which is the next one down. So it sounds to me like one is a standing committee of a larger one,
Okay, so here's the deal.
and you're on both of those.
Here it says Northwest Act, and this says Colpack. And so that's what we get every meeting. So this other thing, I hadn't even looked at this, but I saw that and I thought, I don't understand it either.
And it's the same executive director for all three
Yeah,
of
it's
those.
Mary MacArthur, yeah.
So is that a redundancy in or just a different name do the same?
Kathleen, I don't know.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's because I fell on my head and I knew once upon a time, or I just don't know.
And is that, but the same name is also under the Northwest Oregon Economic Alliance?
We do have that meeting. That's a particular fund, and so I'm chair of that. We start out the COLPAC and the Northwest Economic Alliance meeting at the same time in the morning. So I convene, introduce, we pass our minutes and our financial statements, and then we go right into COLPAC, and Chair Heimiller takes care of that.
So if I may, I don't mean to, I mean this in utmost respect, if I may ask a question to Commissioner Thompson. You have been under doing a lot of work for the county, and I appreciate that. When you look at the long list that you have, are there, other than the tax, the BOPA, are there committees that you would like to hand off to other commissioners?
So I gave Cedar, I want to give away the Oregon Consortium workforce because I took that for Scott Lee.
Can we wait until we get down?
I'm just wondering if there's anything that, okay, I'll cede it back to the chair.
Yeah, I think if we go through these one by one, and if Commissioner Thompson doesn't want to do it,
Okay,
then
yeah, that
we
works.
can-
Thank you, I'm sorry.
All right. Okay, so the Northwest Area Commission on Transportation, as far as you know, you want to stay on that? Commissioner Thompson? Is that correct?
Sorry, which one?
I think that's the one we're on, is the Northwest Area Commission on Transportation.
Oh, we're back up to the Northwest Act. Okay. Yeah, sure, I'm the vice chair of that.
Okay, and the Northwest Oregon Economic
Right.
Alliance?
That's just one day's meeting.
Okay,
So those three.
okay. And the Northwest Oregon Housing Authority, Commissioner Webb said she would take that. And Northwest Oregon Regional Partnership, you're assigned to that?
I don't know what that is, you guys. I'm telling you, I fell on my head. I got a concussion.
Well, you have a lot.
Staff can follow up on it because
Follow
that
up
is
on
one
that
that is required by an agreement.
That one is required? Okay.
Mary MacArthur is the staff, so she may be doing it, and I just don't have the visibility for it. Don't know.
Okay, the Northwest Senior and Disability Services, Commissioner Sullivan said she would remain on that. The Oregon Coast Zone Management Association, Commissioner Quila, and then an alternate would be Commissioner Webb.
Good.
I will take the Public Safety Coordinating Council. The Oregon Consortium, Oregon Workforce Alliance, which is JTPA. I don't understand how that works, but Commissioner Webb? Okay.
Good.
The Planning Commission. Have we had this filled before, ever?
Yes. Yes. Because Commissioner Burkby was that.
Oh, so that's been a long time.
Been a while.
So,
But
Manager?
it's my understanding, and Gail can comment if I'm incorrect, but if the commissioner is on there, they would not really be able to make a comment on anything, because then if for some reason it has to come before the board, then the board would need to be taking action, and so the commissioner who's sitting on that committee wouldn't be able to take part in anything that then would become before them to the board.
so that's not a necessary assignment.
It's not. I mean, ultimately, it's something that would come before the board if there was necessary action by the board anyways.
And could a commissioner, if they wanted to, just go sit in on a meeting?
Yeah, I believe they're public, they're public meetings.
But then would that keep them, if there is something that comes before the Board of Commissioners, they wouldn't be able to?
Same sort of thing. If they're going to the meeting as just a citizen listening to the Planning Commission, they wouldn't be taking a vote on or taking any action on it. The Planning Commission would continue to do that, and then again, it would come before the board. So even if they were there just sitting in the audience because it's a public meeting, they could do that.
All right.
But does that mean that we should possibly take that out of the list of assignments?
In fact, I think it should be removed. yeah.
Okay, so I make a motion to remove this from the list.
Second.
Do we have to have a motion for that?
No,
I don't
it's
think it's
Scribner's
necessary,
error.
but you have a
Scribner's
motion
error.
and second, so you might as well carry on.
Okay.
Okay. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any against?
I'm confused. I'm sorry, it's the rookie thing. I'm a planning
Said
consultant.
any discussion?
And so I go to a lot of planning commission meetings because it's important for me to be able to know what's going on.
Well, you can go.
But then if the planning commission were doing something, I mean, if they were reviewing applications and I was in the room, I would have to recuse myself? When it came here.
No, if it was the right type of action, you would be saying that you'd been at the planning commission meeting and heard stuff there, but it didn't influence your vote. I mean, you're not voting. But what this was a liaison who was actually sitting at the planning commission, and that's why you've struck it from your list.
Can I ask one question, Council?
Yes.
So I do have a question about that, because I know that in Warrenton, we had pretty much a policy that we didn't go to the planning commission meetings because there could be de novo hearings at the city commission level, which would be something, if there's a public hearing, you might have the same exact public hearing, but you couldn't take in, the public hearing at the planning commission because you'd be bringing in different evidence or bringing in different, information from what you would hear from the rest of the city commission. Does that sound right, or is it something?
It's better to not go to the meetings, but obviously if it's not something you think is going to be appealed and you're working for someone, as Ms. Webb may be, then, you may have a reason you have to be there. So it's just, you deal with it on a case-by-case basis. But from council's perspective, who I'm sure has probably wrote your policy in the first place, it's always better to just say don't do it rather than have to deal with things on a case-by-case basis. It's just easier, but it can be dealt with on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
Recreation Lands Advisory Committee, and Commissioner Sullivan agreed to take this.
I would like to do this. The committee, according to this, if this is accurate, meets on the last Thursday of each month, and the Senior Disability Services meets on the third, I think it's the third Thursday of the month. But sometimes they might fall on the third Thursday, so it should be, I guess if it falls at the same time, then, did you want to be on that, Commissioner Webb? Is that what you're saying?
Well,
because I would like to be on it if someone else doesn't feel like they have to be on it.
That's fine.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
The Soil and Water Conservation District.
So here's why this matters. Not only are they dealing with soil and water, the essentials, they're also the county's weed control board. So if you think about noxious weeds, these are the people who deal with it. Besides that, Commissioner Sullivan, you came to the annual meeting. They're a great bunch of people. On the other hand, maybe it's time for somebody else to share that fund too. So I would be happy to pass that one off. I mean, I really love all the people I get to hang out with, but this is a good one for somebody else to get to know a whole different spectrum. You want that one? Yay. They're great. You'll love them.
Chair Netbecker, would you mind?
Oh, sorry.
If I did the soil and water conservation?
No, I don't mind. It's fine. Great.
So now we have to go back to the
Cat team.
Commissioner.
Community Action Team.
Yeah. And if somebody wants to take it on, I mean, really, it's a great group of people, and they've done a strategic plan. Okay, so here's bonus points, you guys. Senator Johnson's husband sits on it. Does that tickle your interest? Oh, never mind. Okay, fine. I thought maybe it would be a plus. It's a plus for me, because he's a great guy. But they have a strategic plan, they do community planning, so they're looking in a tri-county area to understand the forces that keep people in poverty and how to help them get out of it. I mean, really, it's just a spectacular group. It's a great cause, they're wonderful people. Help me here.
For me, Monday is a very busy day at work, so it's hard for me to, do
So
that.
maybe you could call in.
I don't know. I don't, not if you can't hear anything, there's no point.
Well,
What is the time that the meeting occurs?
2 to 4. Maybe it's because I'm old, Kathleen.
No, I have trouble with, I already call in to
Okay.
Northwest Senior Disability, and they do fine. I can hear them. That's not a problem.
Chair Nebaker, you interested?
I cannot take that on, I'm sorry. Well,
Okay, so let me just mention a couple, let me leave that hang again. The Oregon Wood Products Working Group, this is something that,
wait, is this one that we didn't?
it isn't, it's just one I go to, because I just want you to know about it, because it really matters. If anybody's interested in economic development or forestry, adding value to forestry, the Oregon Wood Products Working Group is the cutting-edge seat of power for this. The OFRI and the governor's office, a bunch of private and public folks, the Tallwood Institute, I mean, just so many wonderful people coming together to build the emerging economic development and value-added forestry in Oregon. This is that group. And so I would like to have somebody do that. And you can call in, and they probably have a working sound system, because I've called into that, but it's also fun to go.
Where is it, where's the meeting usually held?
Downtown Portland.
No, wait a minute, so this is one that is not on here?
It's not on the list, but I want to pass, since we're passing it off, I want to pass this one off, because it would save me another trip to Portland. And it's good for economic development for this county.
But shouldn't we try to fill the ones that we are supposed to be filling, rather than ones that we don't really have to, even though they have great worth? And if someone is driving to Portland, then they could probably drive, if they live up this way, to St. Helens. Isn't that where this one is? Community Action? Or am I mistaken about that?
Nope, it's in St. Helens, out Highway 30.
Yeah.
That meets every single month?
Which one?
Kathleen, there's
community
a, remember I fell on my head, there's a month it doesn't meet, and I can't remember what it
So it meets
is.
every month except for one.
Well,
So can I ask a question about the community action
Yes,
team? So is
Commissioner
this
Aquila.
affiliated with Clatsop Community Action? Is Clatsop Community Action the
A spin-off of them.
spinoff? Okay.
And
My
Tillamook
wife
County is.
is on the board of Clatsop Community Action, so
Yeah.
I don't know if that would be a conflict for me or what.
No, you just have more interesting conversations.
Yeah, she probably would want me to be this.
Can you just get a report from her and bring it to us?
It's not the
just
same
might-
thing.
I
It
just
is
am
not
very-
the same thing.
Okay, yeah, my schedule's just really busy. I would have to call in if I did this.
And that's the trouble with being part-time, it's just hard. It's really hard. I mean, I would take on 5 more if I could, but
Right.
I'm already getting pressure at work, I can't.
so you would take it on and call in?
I could call in.
Give it a shot, see if it
But
works.
at the same time, if that, are you sure it's okay, if it's a conflict of interest with your wife? That's the other thing.
I'll imagine that.
The county council says no.
No, that's not, no.
So I can't use it. I
No,
can't use
nice
that.
try, but no.
No, I will, I'll do that.
Good, thank you.
Wonderful. So I think we finished, unless I missed something. Oh, that's right, the ambulance. That's right. Thank you.
They don't meet every month.
Teresa, do you know how often they meet? It's only like quarterly, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, quarterly, it says.
And they meet in town?
Yeah, they meet in the conference room 4:30.
So it's like for an hour or something?
I went to the one this last month or this month, whenever it was. It's like an hour and a half, maybe.
What time? Over lunch?
Yeah, let me look back at my calendar.
If it's quarterly, I'll, unless somebody else wants it, I'll take it on.
Quarterly.
All right. Commissioner Sullivan. Well, I think we've done very well.
Wow.
I want to thank all the commissioners for all their hard work.
It's not the same time as the Parks and Rec, though, is it?
No, because they meet in the same place.
Yes, that's.
It's, the meeting that we had this month was on the second Monday from 1 to 2.
Monday! What's your lunch? It's a quarterly, yeah, okay.
So the other thing I do, the State Emergency Response Commission, this is under the State Fire Marshal. I'm the vice chair of that as well. And we as commissioners have legal liability for the functioning of the citizen committee that deals with hazardous materials that go through Clatsop County. We are liable for the performance of that. And so I work with them to help keep us safe in a variety of ways. I probably ought to continue working with them because I've done that for a while and have some familiarity and some relationships. But if anybody's interested, we can work on a transition. And the same thing with the other things. I mean, I'm not attached. What I want is that Clatsop County be credible and effective. All I want. Don't need to do anything or be anything, but that's the goal. So I've been carrying this. I'm delighted to share some of this, and we can work together on how to share more of it and do transitions so that it isn't abrupt or awkward. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, we're moving on to item 7E, the county manager hire. So we need to form a consultant selection committee. And I believe we have 2 commissioners who are willing to serve on that committee. Commissioner Sullivan.
We're just discussing how cold I am. Feels like the heat's gone off.
And Commissioner Quila. And it's my understanding you'll meet twice. And this is just with the consultant selection committee, not with the prospective county manager. Do we need to have a motion on that for the committee?
You don't officially. I believe the chair can appoint, but if you want a motion, it would certainly be
That's all right.
be fine.
Just appoint Commissioner Sullivan and Commissioner Quila, and you'll probably be informed when that time comes and work with your schedules, I would assume.
Okay.
Okay. Now we move on to commissioners' reports.
How did it happen that folks are already doing the consultant selection? Did I miss that somehow? Was there a chance to say I was interested in that?
I thought it would be good to have one who lives in this area and a commissioner who has experience and a new commissioner. That was how that decision was made.
I've done a lot of consulting and selecting of consultants, so I'm disappointed not to have been had this discussed with me to have the opportunity.
Okay, so noted. So commissioners' reports. Commissioner Sullivan.
Okay. Thank you. This past Saturday, I was, spoke on a board on getting elected, how to get elected. Counselor Tina Montero, myself, and Mayor Bruce Jones spoke. And so I want to use this opportunity to talk about the handouts I brought today. One of them was from this event where they listed the special projects that are special districts that are up for election. There's a whole sheet of paper with 2 to 3, sometimes 4 positions. Now, some folks may be coming back, but they also may need new people. And the deadline to first file for one of these offices is February 9th. The last filing is March 21st. The last day for the voters pamphlet is March 25th, and the last day to register to vote for is April 30th. And these are, I hope you can pick one up on your way out, but these are very important to the running of our county. They go from rural fire districts, the health districts, to the Port of Astoria, school districts, water districts, sanitary districts, transportation districts. These are all really important positions, and I want to encourage, if you're not interested, to talk to your friends and neighbors to say who might be interested. And there are lots of people, starting with our county elections office, that would be helpful on you to make this happen. And in connection with that, one of the things I talked about this Saturday was that we also have a very wide range of community and nonprofit organizations that are run by boards. And a lot of these boards, for instance, the Columbia Senior Diners, that make sure that we can serve aggregate and take-home meals for the seniors 5 days a week. They would like to hopefully get some new blood on their board. There's a whole list of all these different boards, and they need your help. As you know, in a small community, sometimes it seems like the same 5 people are doing all the work, and they get tired. So if you know folks that'd like to get involved, think to yourself what you're interested in, and you can find something that may need your help. So I think one of the reasons that I say that is, you can share your skills with the community, you can learn proper meeting etiquette, you can learn to discuss your ideas clearly, you discover new fundraising ability you didn't know you had, develop leadership goals, accomplish goals, strategic plans, sharpen your critical thinking. These boards can also help lead to these special districts or other elected offices. They go hand in hand, and I think they'll go back and forth. But this county is run on volunteerism, and I'm just trying to encourage you all to think about getting involved. Tomorrow I have a Northwest Senior Disability Services Board, and on that we are still needing one more person for the Disability Advisory Board, advisory council committee. And so if you're interested in that, I'm interested in hearing from you. We have the other 3 positions for Clatsop County filled. And I just want to put my word of support out to folks that are not getting paid right now, and I hope that this government shutdown ends soon. So with that, I'll end. Thanks.
Commissioner Webb?
Along with County College last week, I attended a wonderful 2-day session that was at the end of what has been months of work. And I'm not going to know the name of it. Tita, could you help me out? It's the North Coast Tourism Studio. The North Coast Tourism Studio. And there has been, what it is an effort to get Tillamook and Clatsop County together for tourism development. They've done some wonderful work, and it was run by Travel Oregon, who I thought just did a superb job. And we wound up with about maybe half a dozen sort of areas to pursue in the future. And Councilor Montera and I are co-chairing one of the groups. It's as I say, there's been a lot of work done, and it's very cool to be able to be in the implementation phase of something after a plan was done. So I'm looking forward to doing that. And as I say, County College was wonderful, and I thank the commissioners who encouraged me to go, because it was just so informative. I think my takeaway from it was that it was sitting around tables with commissioners from all over Oregon. I thought it was very remarkable how common all of our problems are. And that we even, Lake County has mental health delivery service issues. They have water, we all have water issues. It was just remarkable how common all of our issues are. And the cross-pollination is just terrific, because you get to talk to people with ideas that worked and some ideas that didn't work. And so it's very, very cool. And AOC is just a terrific resource for that sort of thing. So that's it.
Thank you. Commissioner Quila?
I share Commissioner Sullivan's comments on those that are without, those are Coast Guard or others that are without work right now, and certainly hope that the government shutdown ends soon. Last Friday was the AOC, or the Associated Oregon Counties and Association of Watershed Enhancement Board, do a joint Tidegate outreach meeting, and last year Commissioner Thompson attended on behalf of the Clatsop County Commission. I think it was in December, actually, December 2017. And so I was able to represent Clatsop County at that. This is a big effort. Obviously, the issue is that there are thousands of tide gates. People depend on stormwater drainage in all kinds of areas up and down the Columbia River, up and down the coast. Many of these tide gates are from 1939 or 1940, when the levees were built up and down the Columbia. So they're failing, and within the next 10 years, they estimate that most of them will need replacement. And replacement has become very complicated. There's many agencies that get involved when it comes to a project on a tide gate, sometimes as many as 9 agencies. And the costs have grown exponentially. What used to be a $30,000 project, can be a $300,000 project or more. And that's just because, we have different fish passage regulations. We have a number, like I said, NOAA has their regulatory framework that they apply to tide gate projects. So this is an effort to kind of bring some stakeholders to the table. They had landowners there. We had Mike Seppa, we had Ed Johnson, so they're Diking District members here. They were there. I know that the county had staff there, so I really appreciated that the county was there. Alejandro was there. And it was a good discussion talking about 3 areas: inventory, trying to get accurate database of all the tide gates that are within the system in the state of Oregon, which is a big undertaking because a lot of them are on private lands, and it takes a lot of hunting to kind of find out where all of these structures are at. And then they're going to try to build on that database so that they can pinpoint ownership, pinpoint characteristics, specific bodies of water that these operate on, and then hopefully grow that database to get an accurate picture of exactly what's out there. Funding issues are preeminent, but right now the discussion is about trying to fund 3 specific positions. One would be a tide gate coordinator position. One would be an ODFW position that would actually be at National Marine Fisheries Service, kind of helping shepherd some of these projects through. And then there's one other position that's an ODFW engineer position. And it's all in an effort to try to streamline the process. It's not really, there hasn't been really a focus on cutting any of the regulations or restrictions, and I know that was some of the comments by the landowners that said, well, this is kind of a self-imposed problem because we have so much regulations and restrictions that's why the process is what it is, and we're not addressing that. We're actually adding more positions to do the permitting, which I think anything that helps get this moving forward is a positive step in the right direction. They're doing these all over the state, so this was just one of I think 6, and they're concluding it this week. So I really appreciated the discussion. It was it had, like I said, agencies, or federal agencies, state agency representatives were there, and then a lot of the NGOs, non-governmental organizations were there as well. So it was good representation, good discussion, and I really appreciated having the opportunity to represent Clatsop County, and it'll be ongoing. This, I think, is all building up to getting kind of a program in place, because hopefully in 2 years, in 2021, there'll be a water infrastructure bill that'll be kind of an omnibus bill. Governor Brown has talked about it, that maybe will address a lot of things with levees and dams and some of these structures throughout the state. And tide gates is one that's not on that list yet, but hopefully it will be, because it's going to be a big issue moving
Particularly
forward.
with oceans rising.
Yep. That's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Thompson?
Nicely done. I mean, to have your expertise immediately slide into the enhanced credibility and effectiveness of Clatsop County, well done.
No, thank you.
So Northwest Act and Colpack met. Here's the thing. I don't want to keep everybody here. If you have questions, I've just got a few notes. We're still looking at fiber optic cable, and Jim Knight's goal is to have a robust, secure fiber optic cable connection. So our Port of Astoria is really doing important work that will benefit businesses and individuals throughout Clatsop County. So I just want to give a shout out to that. One little factoid, post-disaster, 40% of businesses never come back, and 29% of the businesses that do come back fail within 2 years. So Mary MacArthur is looking at how to build sustainable, resilient businesses. So that's an effort from Colpack. In terms of Northwest Act, between June and October, Cornelius Pass Road will be closed. That's going to have big implications for traffic all over. The House Bill 2017, with all of these transportation projects, it's way too many to talk about, but if you want to talk about them, Jim Knight, again from the Port, is very active in working on airports and aviation. Lots going on there. And Mary MacArthur's anticipated retirement date is September of 2020. So if you know someone who is excellent at really important work, she's a good person to want to follow. I'm just going to put it like that. I've got AOC. I've got a lot of AOC information. Anybody who's interested, I am more than delighted to share, but I wanted to pass out, I've only got 2 of these. So one to Pam Webb, because she says she's interested.
I think I have that, Leanne.
You got that?
I
Okay.
downloaded that whole thing.
So you want to keep it, so did you have that as well?
I think it went, didn't it go to the whole committee?
Did it go to the whole commission?
I
You
thought
got
so.
it? I can't keep it all straight. So what we're talking about is build your community's entrepreneurial ecosystem. And so I would like us to have Rain come and talk to us. Caroline was her name, and she talks fast and she talks well. Oregon Rain helps communities unleash their entrepreneurial spirit by cultivating innovation, growing scalable companies, and creating more jobs. This is how we flourish. This is how we flourish. USDA it has programs for rural Oregon. Again, a lot to talk about. There was on the 15th of January an Oregon Mass Timber Conference because they have the big one in March in Portland. This is one specifically for Oregonians put on by the Tallwood Design Institute in Business, Oregon. They had people from things like talking about producing connectors and fasteners and market perspectives, and the whole idea is that Oregon is becoming a center of mass timber development, and it's good for our economy, it's good for the environment, and it's important information. More information if you want. The Soil and Water District, I got to swear some people into office, which is way fun. AOC, I went to the new commissioner orientation because they were talking about parliamentary procedure, and I thought, well, you know, maybe I need some shoring up on that. So they talked about a bunch of stuff. They talked about, though, convening a collaborative group. And I think this is a skill set that we commissioners, we have the power to convene. I've heard that. I can't even count the number of times. We commissioners have the power to convene. So this is a power that we can use to help people gather to do good in our community. And I'd like to not lose this idea that we are going to use our power to convene. So when we do work plans, that'll be important. The the earthquake stuff, Northwest Health Preparedness Organization, the HPO, has a coastal partners meeting. The next one is in April, so quarterly. And it talks about, with the Oregon Health Authority, Multnomah County Health Department, and our local hospitals, what we're actually going to be able to do when bad stuff happens. Now, Cannon Beach has a medical reserve corps. We don't have one at a county level. Cannon Beach supports emergency preparedness at that community level. They've just hired a Portland fire chief to be their first full-time emergency manager. That's hot stuff, you guys. So what we're looking at is how individual communities and different systems are going to be able to function in all manner of emergencies. And they have, if you like cool maps, they have maps. They have lots of looking at how to evacuate when bad things happen. So this kind of intricate planning is going on with community partners preparing to deal with bad stuff that happens. CETA meeting was yesterday. Do you want to report on that? Okay, CETA meeting. Smart meters is a big deal. Anna Stanford does this wonderful program to help students have internships. And she reports on it. It's growing like gangbusters. 100, help me remember.
I think it was 133.
133 youth. It's amazing. And every junior and senior is coming in from Jules School. Big deal. Very big deal. Because Jules School needs to be involved. Pardon me. The Job and Career Fair, I'm going to need more water. Job and Career Fair is Wednesday, March 6th. Patriot Hall. I'm done. I'm done.
I can finish on it, but Commissioner Nebaker, if you want to finish your report.
Raise your hand if you need a Heimlich there.
Okay, I attended the Arts Council meeting. Hopefully it was just water. Michael Anglia, he's a volunteer, and he's with Project Astoria Storefront. He gave a presentation about working with artists to do window displays with downtown stores, especially the ones that are empty, to minimize invitations for loitering and other problems that we have seen. He's working with, well, there's 50 artists on board volunteering their time. The Liberty Theater, we have quantified this. Just Liberty Theater alone has contributed $850,000 in revenue for the last season to downtown Astoria. Wow. The corner of 10th and Duane is a new Astoria Visual Arts gallery space along with artist in residence space. Recology and Astoria Visual Arts, or AVA, will have their project for making art with trash in the spring. That's a pretty fun event. A call for artists for experienced muralists will go out for the buildings in the alley. It's the alley by Erickson's Florist. And a fundraiser is underway for lighting. Right now they have lanterns, so they're going to make it more permanent with permits and everything that they need. The Fisher Poets is coming last weekend in February. In March, the Biz Kids, or young entrepreneurs, will be connected with business owner art makers to learn and prepare business plans with the Astoria Sunday Market. This is to help children learn about business. And one of the projects I believe that they did was making handles for Fort George, or learn about it. In Seaside, this is new. There's a story slam that takes place Thursdays in January through April. So at Maggie's on the Prom, 6 to 8. People sign up, it's at 5:30. People come prepared to tell stories. I don't know if you're familiar with the Moth Radio Hour, but it's patterned after that. Contra dances are ongoing February 1st, first Friday of the month. And Willy Wonka will be performed in May at the Astoria High School, and Miss B's fundraiser, this was started by Noel Thomas in honor of his art teacher. It's gone from a few dollars to a few $1,000s for granting to arts in the schools. They take students to the Portland Art Museum, and they meet other arts-related needs in the schools. That's what I have. And now the county manager's report.
Thank you, Commissioner. So we held project manager interviews today for the jail project. We had a committee of 9, and Commissioner Thompson sat in as an observer. We had four proposers who we interviewed, and we were optimistic with the proposers that we had. And so Chief Deputy is summarizing all of the scores that were submitted, and so we will be reviewing that in the next day or two. That agenda item is set to come before the board on February 13th. As far as the recommendation for selecting that, the project manager. I received late this evening an email from the housing study group, and so they emailed us drafts to send out to the Housing Task Force, and their next step is to meet with the individual cities to discuss the findings and possible next steps from the strategies report that may best apply to them. He'll be following up with the county as well as the individual city representatives to schedule this, and in the meantime, we'll be forwarding the reports on to the advisory committee for their questions and comments. I wanted to remind everybody about the board rules work session that's scheduled for Monday morning from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. And so if you want to bring your suggestions that you have, that way we can move it along. I know that there were some commissioners that are under a time constraint on that day. I also wanted to kind of, and I have a few doodle poll emails that Teresa will be sending out to you guys. But one thing that we wanted to schedule was an active shooter training for the commissioners. And so I spoke with Chief Deputy as well as the jail lieutenant today regarding what it is you want. So they can do a quick crash course, 1-hour session for you, which we could schedule before a board meeting, or it could be a full detail 2-hour session. And so let me know if you would prefer an hour or 2 hour, if you want to shoot me an email.
So to speak.
Oh, that was really bad etiquette. I'm sorry. If you want to send me an email as to which you would prefer, and then I can send out, we can get something scheduled prior to a board meeting. I have made some notes through this, another presentation like Commissioner Thompson mentioned, and I laid out some information for you all regarding the smart meters. Elisa Dunlap did say that she'd be happy to come and present if the board is in favor of it, and it sounds as though you all are. So I will get her scheduled. We'll put it on the county website, so that way if there are those who are against the smart meters, they can come and have an opportunity to share their concerns.
Could I ask a question?
Uh-huh.
I really would love, the smart meter issue is so divisive,
Mm-hmm.
and it's so vocal. I mean, if we have an opportunity for public comment,
Mm-hmm.
we will get a lot of public comments. I'd really love to have somebody in the county, I guess in the health department, to give us some advice on this, because we're going to need an arbiter. That the positions are so extreme.
So just to kind of give you a little bit of insight, so the public health department, they're not like your typical doctors and nurses. They focus on public health, which is more of your reproductive family planning, your STDs, immunizations.
Right. No, I understand that.
But we could see if there is a health professional who would be able to perhaps speak to
I
it.
think that most of these, an awful lot of the background that I've been reading, it's actually electrical engineers who are really, sort of arguing and doing the research on this.
Yeah, and that was one thing that Elisa pointed out yesterday is these smart meters have a lower frequency transmitted than your cell phones. And they're actually externally where a lot of people are carrying their cell phones on them and keeping them close by and stuff. And so, there's a health risk involved with your cell phone. And so the smart meters, the way that it was explained to us is that it is a lower risk, but there's still the concern there for the citizenry. So I will get that scheduled with her. Something else, like I said, I have 3 doodle polls that I'll be sending out through Teresa to you guys. One is to establish a work session for the industrial fund revolving fund policy. One is to establish a work session on the budget process. And then I'm going to pass these along to you. These are board goals that were adopted via an R&O in 2005. And so I would also send out a doodle poll to establish a work session for you to adopt board goals. So those you can anticipate receiving from Teresa in the next couple days. And that is, and just to kind of comment at the Cedar meeting, something else that was brought up was in regards to health insurance in Clatsop County. And so I know that from the Cedar Board perspective, we're interested in starting a conversation because essentially there's only 2 health insurance plans that are offered in Clatsop County. And it really creates an economic problem for people who are trying to pay for health insurance when we're so limited because you don't have that market competition. And so there was a gentleman, his name is Steve, Steve Sinkler from Cannon Beach, and he is new from California. Back in 2012, he moved up here, and he has dealt a lot with this. He's a former attorney who worked for various health insurance companies, and so so that's something that I think the board of Cedar is going to kind of continue the conversation on and pursue.
That's
So,
good.
yeah.
May I bring up one more question here? We all got an email about this OPAC, the Oregon Ocean Policy Council, and that's coming up in April, and it's a 3-county, I think. So I'm wondering, that'll be something we have to deal with in the future, or that they're looking for a representative from Jenna Carter. Did everybody get that?
I saw it, yeah.
Yeah. Dear Clatsop, Lincoln, and Tillamook County Commissioners, I'm writing on behalf, opportunity to appoint someone.
Yeah,
It's
so
connected with
the board
governor.
would need to appoint somebody that they would then send to OPAC to be voted on by, I believe it's the governor.
So do we belong to OPAC right now? But we just, I mean, does anybody have more? How do we deal with this? Is this something that we bring up on an agenda another time, or is it just it sounds important. That's why I'm just wondering,
Yes,
how do we address this?
Yeah, I can follow up on it and find out what exactly it would entail, and then we can set an agenda item for one of the board members to be appointed to that committee. And the way that I understood it when I read it is we would, your board would nominate one of you to go to it, but you might not necessarily be selected by the governor.
Okay.
It's the counties are making a nomination, and then the governor would make a selection. I can review that, though, to make sure I'm understanding
I just think
it correctly.
if the governor comes calling, I'd like to at least have an answer,
Yeah.
so.
I'd suggest talking, Scott McMullen, I know, was on the OPAC board for many years and just resigned, or just retired.
Who was that? I'm sorry.
Scott McMullen.
Oh, okay.
So I think we should talk to him, maybe beforehand, and see if he has any suggestions as well.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, now we move into an executive session to consult with counsel concerning the legal rights and duties of a public body.